welcome to Out and Back. And I want to welcome our guest today, Jeff Blumenfeld. And Jeff has been a longtime friend. He has been at the forefront, certainly in the literary area or literature area of exploring. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is exploration, what it means to the outdoor business, and what he sees going forward. So, Jeff, very happy to have you as a guest today.
Yes, thank you. Welcome from Boulder.
Yes. The first thing is you are a member of the Explorers Club. I want to march down a couple of things here. It was founded in 1904 in New York City, and it is pretty much world famous for, and you are a member of it, it's world famous for its funding of exploration and the stellar membership in the Founders Club. Am I correct in that?
So the International Exploration Society, the Explorers Club, we don't actually fund exploration, but we celebrate it, we foster it, and we recognize top explorations around the country. We have the Explorers flag. There are 202 of these flags. You apply to take the flag on your expedition. You take it on your expedition, you complete the expedition, you write a report up, and then you present the flag back to the club, and the flag goes out again. And some of the flags have been out on multiple expeditions. When a flag, however, goes to the deepest point of the ocean or significant exploration, it's retired, and then it's hung up in the world headquarters in New York at 46 East 70th Street. So we have 3,600 members around the world. There are 33 chapters, and I am deeply honored to be the chairman of the Rocky Mountain chapter, which is 5 states at last count, from the Canadian to the Mexican border. And it's the Rocky Mountain chapter, and we have monthly meetings. They were live. We went to Zoom, and hopefully we'll be back to live. But it is such a thrill for me to be part of this organization. I'm in a meeting, and there's Buzz Aldrin sitting next to me. There's Neil deGrasse Tyson, James Cameron. I met John Glenn as part of it. I am such a groupie for exploration. That's one of the reasons that I dedicated my career to promoting expeditions, reporting about them, and encouraging more exploration to go out into the field.
So I'm assuming that a flag is retired when it reached the top of Everest. Am I correct?
Possibly, but that's fairly common these days. The flag is retired, for instance, if it goes to the moon, which it has been. They created small-sized flags, wrapped them in plastic pouches, went to the moon, came back, hung up on the wall. That flag doesn't go out again. Those hang around. And sadly, we had a flag expedition where someone died, and that flag was retired. But there are about 202 of them. And there's a Flag and Honors Committee, which I used to serve on. Flag and Honors Committee that selects what expeditions are worthy of carrying the flag. It's like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. But there's no funding. It's not about funding. It's about recognizing
accomplishments,
significant accomplishments.
Now,
well, there has to be exploration. Remember that there's a difference between an adventure and an expedition. An expedition has a nobility of purpose. An expedition is a trip with a purpose. My going to Costa Rica to take pictures of birds, that's not an expedition. But my going to Costa Rica on an expedition to plant a sensor at the top of the volcano, that would be considered field research. There's got to be research. What did we learn from your trip?
Got it. Let's talk about the latest that has hit the headlines in the last few weeks, which was the finding of the Endeavour and Ernest Shackelford's unbelievable expedition. Well said, by the way. of and of Arctic exploration, they have found the Endeavor, and of course it was written in a great book called The Endurance. What do you know about what did they have to go through to find? I think they found the ship in 10,000 feet of water. Is that correct?
That's correct. They tried to find it last year, but they got weathered out of it. The reason it hasn't been found all these years is because it's in some of the world's worst water out there. They were able to get funding from an anonymous donor of $10 million. So there's a reason it really hasn't been found before. But using technology, they were able to locate it and come back with amazing photographs. So we like to say that the ship is now captained by sea anemones. There are oceanographers, researchers around the world who are looking at some of the animal life that came through on the photography, and they're seeing all kinds of great critters. That, in fact, there's a case of a certain kind of crab they didn't even know existed in that part of the ocean. So we reported about that. We've been talking about in Expedition News, which I've been writing for 27 years, every month. We've been talking about Shackleton and the story of his expedition. And we've been talking about this search for the ship. You know, next to the Titanic, which they found with technology, and finding Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria off of Haiti, this is perhaps the third most significant oceanographic finding ever, arguably. And how did we find it? We found it thanks to technology. And that's how exploration has changed so dramatically over the years. The use of technology is really opening up the doors to more questions we have about the mysteries of our planet. Bob Ballard found the Titanic using technology. The remotely operated vehicles that were used for finding the Endurance, that's another example of technology. And researchers now using their iPads in the field. They're communicating directly from the field to schools around the world based on their findings. So technology has really changed the face of exploration.
It's really fascinating. And I looked at those pictures and I was astounded at how good of shape the Endurance was in. And was that because of the cold water? Was that because it just slowly, it didn't crash catastrophically? I just don't know.
There was damage to it, but it basically was crushed by the ice and then sank. But because of the nature of the water there, it's a super cold water in the Weddell Sea. It was somewhat protective. So now the question is, now what do we do? Well, they're going to document it carefully. They may bring up one or two items, but you know, it's a protected heritage site, historic site. So they may bring up some items from it. But can you imagine if they pulled the money together to actually bring the ship up and put it on display?
Yeah.
That would take an enormous amount of money and probably will never happen.
Well, at 10,000 feet, that's 2 miles down, over 2 miles, that's over 2 miles down. You know, which begs another question. Do you know the deepest part of the sea? Is that almost the deepest part?
No, the deepest part of the sea is Mariana Trench. And it's far deeper. I just forgot the number. I think it's in the high 20,000s.
Wow. Wow.
I'll have to ask Mr. Google about that. I don't remember the number, but the deepest part of the sea is the Mariana Trench, which was first visited by an Explorers Club member in the 1960s, and was revisited by James Cameron, in fact, the deepest part. And then other expeditions have studied the Marianas Trench further.
I want to go to the outdoor industry because you and I have been in that industry for quite some time. What will the outdoor industry take out of exploration? Well, let me just set this up a little bit more. When we went to space, we came back, you know, and NASA had invented or uh, built things with new like Teflon and Kevlar, and all of a sudden the bikes became lighter and better, and all, you know, it really affected the outdoor business with regard to what NASA was doing. How is these new expeditions, and how will the outdoor industry either leverage that or benefit from that?
Mhm. Exploration requires money. Exploration requires sponsorship to do. I mean, there are many cases of rather rich benefactors who just pay for the trip themselves. But most explorers need funding, and they go to corporations to get that funding. And why would a company want to sponsor an expedition? You know, why did Queen Isabella sponsor Christopher Columbus? He had to pitch, Chris Columbus had to pitch Queen Isabella 3 times to get funding to discover the New World. What was she going to get out of it? Well, he would say to her that he'll bring back to her great riches from the New World. The same thing with sponsors today. Sponsors want to know, what are we going to get out of it? If sponsors wanted to just donate to the Cancer Society, they can do that with no expectation of return. But explorers are looking to get that funding, and the better explorers provide value in return to the sponsors. And why would the sponsor want to support an expedition? Well, it demonstrates product performance in extreme conditions. You go into a store and you see a parka, and you see the hang tag says this has been qualified on Mount Everest. This went up Mount Everest. That provides the halo effect. The customer may never go to Mount Everest themselves, but they like to know that that parka and that hang tag says that jacket's been to Mount Everest. So that's the halo effect. Sponsors also want to get some value from these expeditions, so they're looking for visual identification. North Face was brilliant on Steger's Trans-Antarctica expedition because they put the word North Face on the outside of the tent, but knowing full well that a lot of photography will be inside the tent, they printed the North Face inside the tent so it could be read inside the tent. So a lot of time and effort is made into where do you place the patches. And the patch that goes on the sleeve is less expensive for a sponsor than the patch that goes right here, or the patch that's on the hat. So these are all negotiated in advance. An explorer goes out into the field, make sure that they wear their logoed attire, provide value to the sponsor when they come back. Then the explorer will speak to the sponsor's employees. The explorer will be in their trade show booth at the outdoor retailer show. And if they do all those things, the explorer has a better chance of getting funding the next year. Ned Gillette is a perfect example of that. He was always giving value to his sponsors and continually received sponsorship value. So sponsors also support expeditions for the social media engagement. You know, in the 1960s, during, which I happen to remember, during the the Mercury space flight, they would roll in a black and white TV set to a elementary school auditorium of 400 kids. And we would see Dallas Townsend from the USS Enterprise or wherever talk about Scott Carpenter's Splashdown on a black and white set. Now kids today, they don't want to watch it on a black and white set. They want to talk to the explorer. And they can do that thanks to social media. So sponsors want to be part of that social media engagement. Sponsors also find value in supporting a worthy cause. That's one of the reasons Will Steger received sponsorship, is because they wanted to draw attention to the environment. And sponsors will do that as well.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, and then sponsors want to know, they ask the question, so what? So what? That's what I call the so what rule. You want to climb Everest and you need $50,000? Excuse me, time out. It's been climbed. Oh, well, you're blind? Well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll sponsor you because that's never been done. Or you're handicapped? Okay, well, that's never been done before. So they want to answer the so what rule. You climbed Everest, so what? Well, yeah, but you put scientific instrumentation at the top of Everest to measure its true height. Then that gets interesting. So you got to have that hook for sponsors to get involved in it.
So what do you know that we don't know that's interesting and fascinating about what's next? When I say what's next, okay, they went 10,000 feet down to discover the Endeavor. And obviously, ocean exploration, there's much that we still don't know about what's down there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, space. And, we've got the ultra uber rich people now funding, such as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, funding space exploration. In your view, what is the next most beneficial piece of exploration or expedition type things that will benefit us?
Expeditions that stimulate kids to learn more about the environment. It's all about the kids. It's all about, don't just go climb Everest, but how are you going to engage school children, because these are the leaders for tomorrow. It's said that there's a child now walking around will be the first person on Mars. That child is walking around right now. Getting kids involved in learning more about their planet will certainly benefit all of us. And you know who our greatest ambassadors are to get kids more involved in science? Our greatest ambassadors are dinosaurs and sharks. Dinosaurs are the crack cocaine of STEM education. I am telling you, from the minute a kid comes out of the womb, they're fascinated about dinosaurs, maybe unicorns, but certainly dinosaurs. And the more that we get kids involved in dinosaurs, the more they start to get interested in earth science, the more it start interested in the environment. And an example of that is in southern New Jersey, and I forget what the exit is, there's a fossil park. Fossil park right there, right next to a Lowe's. It's just a big, giant fossil park. Kids have been coming to this park, and you get the kids, you get them there. It's at Rowan University. You get the kids, their hands are getting dirty. They literally dig up fossil shells, and they get to keep them. Of course, there's like 70,000 fossils in this location. Now what they've done is they're building a $73 million fossil park in New Jersey, in southern New Jersey, of all places. And actually, the joke is, if you're a paleontologist, the best place to dig is about 3 blocks from a Lowe's. There's a Lowe's, and your paleontologist goes, you know what? I really need another hammer. Pete, go to the Lowe's over there. And Pete goes, you look it up. It's the Fossil Park Museum in New Jersey at Rowan University. They got funding from Rick Edelman, the financial advisor you hear on the radio. And kids are totally engaged in going on a dig, in New Jersey, in southern New Jersey. And I think that's great. So any expedition today has got to have some sort of element of education for kids, because this is the trick. You get kids involved in the moon, you get kids involved in dinosaurs, you get kids involved in shark research. Kids love to be scared by these scary creatures, and they may turn into the future paleontologists of tomorrow. So
that's just great storytelling there, Jeff. And one of the things is, I think what you're alluding to here in a very powerful way is climate change, and this generation, if I'm understanding it right, the new upcoming generations are much more concerned and much more tied into the environment and climate change. Are you seeing that also?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what the dinosaurs, what happened to the dinosaurs? Why did they die away? What can we learn from that? You don't go on a dig just to pick up fossil shells. You go on a dig to learn about more about what happened to the Earth. I'm not a paleontologist, but I know a lot of them, and it is very much about climate change. And another friend of mine from the Explorers Club, he creates full-size dinosaurs for museums. What better way to get kids engaged in earth sciences than to show them what a dinosaur actually looked like? They're not just bones. He's creating the full Monty, full dinosaur with skins, in some cases dinosaurs with feathers on them, to show what these massive creatures look like. So, I've got a grandchild. He's 4 years old. He knows stegosaurus, triceratops. He knows T-Rex. He knows all his dinosaurs. He knows his planets. This is at 4. This is a great thing for me to see. And now he's into robots. Of course, I had to show him my favorite robot, which is Robbie the robot from Forbidden Planet. And then the one from Lost in Space, he knows that one. That was actually B9, the letter B, 9. That was the name of the Lost in Space robot. And it stands for benign. Stands for benign. You didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not know
that. A lot
of
things in the Explorers Club.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things to know.
This has been absolutely fascinating, and I want to thank you for your time. And
I got one more item to mention to you.
Please.
And that's the importance.
Please.
Of making exploration more inclusive. More inclusive. The typical image of an explorer is a gray-haired white guy, wearing a pith helmet. Well, that's all changed. In fact, it wasn't until 1982 that women were allowed into the Explorers Club. So we've got that. We've got women in, but now people of color, we're now embracing more of those. And in fact, there's the Society of Forgotten Explorers that has been set up by the Explorers Club. These are the people that facilitated, typically white men, doing all the great expeditions they do. So we are recognizing the Inuits, for instance, that helped Perry get to the North Pole. And that's the Society of Forgotten Explorers. And then we set up the Explorers Club 50 program to recognize 50 people changing the world that the world needs to know about. Not the famous ones like Sylvia Earle or Catherine Sullivan, but the people you've never heard about, the marine biologists, the conservationists, the linguists, the filmmakers, the paleontologists. So that's a very healthy move into making exploration more inclusive.
So to wrap this up, the expedition, the Explorations Club, all of this works to work on, it is to better understand our planet and beyond, and to also recognize people that have really helped in that and to uncover those people who have been significant in these expeditions. And the last point that I think is really salient that you're making is the point that all of these expeditions are contributing to not only the understanding and education of generally Earth, but also improving products, bringing new products and new materials to us. Yeah. Jeff, this has been great, and I thank you for your time, and always it's great to see you. And thanks again.
You bet. Take care, man.
See you, man.